Welcome to The State of Us. Real people with honest opinions and the future of responsible media. Here's your host, Justin T. Weller.
Amazon abandoned its $2.5 billion plan to build a New York City headquarters, undoing one of the country's biggest economic development deals because it said it couldn't overcome political opposition to subsidies to one of the world's richest companies. Amazon had agreed to spend up to $2.5 billion to build the new campus and bring at least 25,000 workers to the New York area location over the next decade. In exchange, New York City and state officials offered $3 billion in tax incentives. Needless to say, some people weren't happy about that. So you've probably already heard a lot about this, but today we're gonna look at the slightly larger conversation. Why do you care? Well, this is kind of symbolic of this larger debate that I think is getting started in our country right now. The big company anti-distaste sentiment, whatever you want to call it, just a displeasure by some of the younger generations.
Shooting themselves in the foot, though. I guess they don't want to work.
Toward big
Gonna
generations.
live off the government.
I
think they're fighting the wrong windmill on this one.
So, of course, we can't begin this critical conversation without
your friendly redneck liberal, Lance Jackson.
Here's where the redneck part comes out.
Uh-huh.
By the way, I did get my book, so I've got my own copy now of the Liberal Redneck Manifesto.
You're going to start bringing it, I'm told.
I am. I'm going to start carrying it so
Okay.
I can refer to places in it so everybody knows where this came from. So,
by the way, this is all referencing the Wall Street Journal article from Friday, February 15th. It said Thursday, that being Amazon, that it wouldn't restart the process and hunt for a new city, and instead would add jobs in other offices around the country, including Seattle. It plans to open a second headquarters in Northern Virginia, and those are proceeding and have received state approval as of last week. So that's still moving ahead, but we're not going to...
Some people want to work.
We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this New York thing, and we're also not going to... change this either. So this kind of began. Mr. Cuomo and city officials had assured Amazon the deal would move forward with little resistance, according to people familiar with the matter. But Amazon immediately tapped, and this is where I have a problem, Lance, just this next phrase.
Okay.
Immediately tapped into anti-business sentiment. Tapped into what now? Anti-business sentiment. I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, yeah, all you people that want to get their income for breathing, right?
I know, but
they're anti-business.
There's like a long way between, I want some social programs and I'm I mean, what does that even mean? Anti-business.
Well, that means they're bad for the environment.
This sounds like some Bernie bros to me going here. I don't know what this is.
It's people that make Bernie look like a middle of the road guy.
I guess.
I mean, that's where it is.
Anti-business sentiment.
I mean, I don't want to work. I want to be given money because I'm breathing.
Uh-huh.
Don't give me a job. And you know what? And people say they want to represent their constituents. Well, your constituents in this locale wanted the jobs. Okay. Over 60 to 70%, 81%, I think of, but anywhere around 70% of minorities who make up a large portion of people in this district wanted this. So if you're a politician and you say you got elected to represent your people in your district, then you didn't do this by coming out against it.
Mm-hmm.
Because guess what? The average American wants to work. Wow. What a concept.
At a December 12th city council hearing, protesters tried to drown out the testimony of Holly Sullivan, Amazon's head of worldwide economic development, and Brian Huseman, vice president of public policy. Amazon made efforts to demonstrate HQ2's value. It said it would provide computer science courses to more than 130 area high schools. Mm-hmm. And unveiled a plan to hire 30 residents of a public housing complex, the nearby Queensbridge houses, for jobs at a customer service center.
We always talk about education, and here they're willing to give an education piece, and you reject it. Okay. All right. Just making sure I understand that.
Yes. Earlier in the article, it did note what you were mentioning before, that the vast majority of New Yorkers, when polled, did support this. But evidently the naysayers were loud enough to squash 25.
But it's like this, okay? If you want to complain,
then
I'll take my money and go somewhere else. I mean, I don't have to listen to this.
That's right.
If I'm Amazon,
Yep.
I'm trying to do some good for the economy. And if you don't want it, if I'm Amazon, I won't listen because there's other places out there that want me. So you don't want me. That's fine. I'll take my businesses and my jobs and go somewhere else. I totally understand why Amazon would do this. I'm not going to fight against people that you don't want me. That's fine. I'll go someplace else because I really liked it as I was watching over the weekend on Friday and different things. The governor of New Jersey was on TV less than 2 hours later saying, hey, come on over, come across the river.
Yep.
We got plenty of room for you. We've got really good schools. We've got great math programs over here. We have great computer science programs and, we'll take your business. You know, I mean, there are plenty of people out there, plenty of politicians and states that are willing to take Amazon and say, sure, we'll take the jobs. Our people need good paying jobs. We need the infrastructure. We need the tax base. So, hey, you know, I'm all for it. New York's got plenty of people. If they don't want it, let Amazon go someplace else. I mean, people got the right if they don't want it, but there are other people that do.
Here's the bigger thing I think that people are missing, Lance, with this is, I mean, everything that you've said is true, and I'm in agreement with it. In complete agreement with you. But I think the thing that comes to mind here is this notion that we had talked about before, that it's not even for Amazon, for a company like that, it's not even so much about the tax cuts as it is what you were getting at, a willingness and a welcoming attitude. Because again, why go somewhere you're not wanted? I mean, why? You're just fighting this uphill battle then where you've got people in the community that don't like you. And why start out that way when there's plenty of other places that aren't going to have that? And we've experienced that here in our own small town before many a times where our city has scared away, you know, other companies and organizations because they were unwilling to be welcoming. You know, it's not even we
can't modernize the city.
No,
you know, we can't bring it into the new decade or the new century, by God. So we're going to turn those businesses away because there's plenty for people in our town to do. Yeah. Right. Okay.
And so I guess what I'm getting at here is I don't want people to think it's, you know, well, Amazon got upset that maybe they wouldn't get all of those tax breaks. I don't think that's what it is.
I really don't think that was it at all. I agree.
Like you said, it's just, we don't need this.
I don't need to fight.
Yeah. Well, and they're already fighting this problem that we've been hearing about for a few years now, the quality, care that Amazon provides to its employees. Right. And we already know
they have an image problem.
Yes.
They're fighting an image problem with the company.
So this doesn't help. You know, it's like, it's just not worth, just forget it. You know, you want to cause problems? Fine. We don't need that. We'll still invest, which is what they're saying they're going to do, but we're just going to spread it out and forget this whole split HQ thing. So they're basically back to what they were going to do originally.
Sure.
They've just, you know.
I mean, you can't blame Amazon as a company looking for the best deal that it can get. But by the same token, if the deal's not there, then they'll go to plan B because they are all about, you know, providing services and making money, which is how capitalism works.
Well, how it's supposed to work.
That's how you get the tax base for the social programs that you and I both believe in.
Yeah.
Is you have to have companies working. You have to have companies that work so that they have employees that work. So employees and companies pay taxes. So local and state governments have money with which to use for social programs. That's the way it all works, folks. You know, this
in this country,
the dumbest thing, the number one dumbest thing that was said was the politician who said, well, now we have $3 billion to spend on schools.
No,
that's not the way this works. That's not the way any of this works. And I'm ashamed that you got elected to office because that scares me that somebody who is that inept and lacks the local business knowledge can win a political fight. I mean, that's as bad as Donald Trump not knowing how to be president. that you don't know how basic business economics works and you're a national politician. I mean, it shows that if you're an American citizen and you run, you got a chance to get in the government. That's right. Wonderful.
The minimum requirements truly are the minimum requirements.
You're a citizen and you're old enough. You ran.
Yeah.
But now, I know who they are. I'm not mentioning their name. Thank you.
Okay.
It's those, they who shall not be mentioned, right? Little Harry Potter reference there, for the millennials. Yeah, I'm not going to give them any airtime whatsoever, but that's just, oh my goodness gracious, sakes alive.
Just so everybody understands though, right? I mean, just in case we have anybody out there who feels dumb now, it's okay as long as you're not an elected official. But hopefully this adds up real simple for you. In order to give $3 billion in tax breaks, you must first be eligible to get that taxes, which means that, okay, so they're going to give Amazon $3 billion in tax breaks, which happens once Amazon is there. So if Amazon doesn't come, that $3 billion that they were going to let Amazon save also never comes.
Right.
So
it's never not in the freaking budget.
Right. It wasn't there.
There's not $3 billion sitting around in this city's budget to do something with. No. Can't you read a spreadsheet? I mean, come on. You give the $3 billion because you're going to collect $10 billion in taxes if they come, or whatever the number is. Yeah. You're making money off of it. So, wait a minute. That's a business thing. You spend money to make money. It's why you advertise. This advertising is going to cost me money, but I'm going to sell more product, so I will make more money than the advertising cost. Oh, that's the way that works? I didn't realize. You have to spend money to make money. Oh my goodness. I mean, heaven forbid that I own stock, because that makes me, I can't be liberal now. But wait a minute. If I don't spend the money to buy the stocks, I don't make the money, which then in turn, if I have extra money, I can help people in my local community. I can buy children shoes. I can help the homeless. I can give to the food pantry. I can do that. Why? Because I invested in the stock market with money that I earned. I spent money, made extra money. Then I used the extra money to help those people around me. That's the way it works, people.
I'm sorry. The reason I'm just, in case anybody's wondering,
I'm a fiscal conservative.
I'm
a social liberal.
I know.
You can be liberal here, people, but you got to realize that to help people, it takes money. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you got to learn how to make money so that you can help people. You can't just help people by holding up signs and complaining. You have to have money to help people. And you just turned all these people in this town now don't have a better paying job possibility for them.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. You stood up to the big guy. Way to go. And the people are still hungry. The schools are still struggling. The streets are still, have potholes in them. The sidewalks, the sewer system still needs to be done. And guess what? Now there's not $3 billion in the budget to get any of that stuff done.
Nope.
And you could have had $7 billion or whatever. I'm just throwing, I'm throwing a number out there, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not.
The long term though. I mean, it's
how
way
much
more
money
than
would you
$3
have
billion.
made?
That's right.
I'm using the example in Ohio of Honda manufacturing coming in back in the 80s. It's huge in the area where we are. The town went from where Honda is located, went to a sleepy little town. And Honda got 10 years, I think, of a tax rebate. They didn't have to pay taxes for 10 years. Mm-hmm. Okay. That was almost 25 years ago. That's right. And now they're getting new roads have been built. New schools have been built. Homes, shopping centers. Farmers have sold property for housings.
Developments.
Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. For housing developments to be built. Wow. I mean, the trickle down effect here did work,
Yeah.
And people, I remember I was going into college. People were saying, how can we give Honda, big, huge multinational corporation? How can we give them tax breaks? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just people, this area of Ohio would be dead right. I mean,
yep.
it'd be a whole lot worse off than it is if you didn't have them here as an anchor and all the subsidiaries that feed into it. And like they talk about, this isn't just the jobs at Amazon, all the little bodegas and the restaurants and everything else that would have been impacted in a positive manner in sales now aren't going to get those sales because those workers are not going to be in that area. So if you own a business in that area, you're not going to reap any of the benefits now of all these new employees looking for a cup of coffee or a piece of pizza at lunch or a hot dog or whatever that they would go out, a good salad or a fruit salad or something. All of these little small businesses, right? Small businesses, not the big ones. Yeah, you kept Amazon out and you hurt all the little guys.
Who would benefit from
who would have benefited from.
You have all these extra workers, all these extra people with more money. So it's always that. I mean, and you have to look at the whole picture. But before we move on to the last bit here, which is kind of talking about this larger trend in America right now in a viewpoint. Before we get to that, though, it's important that we remind people what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish. And the State of Us is part of TrueChat's network, and TrueChat's mission is to educate people by providing honest, open, and respectful conversations.
I'm being honest and open, and I'm trying to be respectful.
It's hard today.
I think I'm being respectful. I haven't called anybody names.
That's right. Email ethics@truechat.org.
Haven't used any bad words.
You didn't even use their name, so
nope.
And
I didn't use any adjectives before their names.
And if you have thoughts about this, contrary to ours or like ours, you can let us know at TrueChat.org, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. And so this next part, I guess I want to get at is understanding America's government and economic system, because this is why, when people talk about, oh, we don't need to teach history, we could get rid of that and teach something else. It's like, well, there's a lot of things that we could probably change or reduce, but there are some things that are important to understand about. I've loved reading this book that Lance and I are both reading right now called Capitalism in America, right? A history. And very good.
Goes back to the colonies.
Yes.
Into the 21st century, explaining the economic trends and developments of the United States.
All the way back to the beginning. And part of what they help you see is that, we are not a capitalist economy in the purest sense of the word. We're like many things else, just like we're not a democracy. Oh my gosh, everybody's so upset now. Yeah, we are. No, we're not. We're a hybrid of a democracy. We're a hybrid capitalist economy. None of these things we are pure in, which is part of what makes us special. And that's part of what makes us great, is that we're not just capitalist or we're not just democracy. First of all, for most people out there, you would hate if we were just a democracy because it would take forever to get anything done because we'd all have to vote all the time.
Right. You think it's slow now.
Yeah, you think it's slow now.
In a true democracy, it would be.
Oh, you think we make uninformed decisions now? Imagine if we had to vote on everything.
That's right.
It would be terrible. So keeping some of that in mind is important, I think. And same thing with capitalism. If we had truly, and we did, for a very short time, we had close to like pure capitalism. But what we found out, both on the personal and the business front, is that we could have a stronger and more prosperous economy if we, in a restrained way, regulated business to balance its ability to affect personal life. Because surprise, surprise, when people are happier and they feel like they have a better life, they also tend to do a better job at wherever they work. So it's all a balancing act.
And they can buy more stuff.
And they can buy more stuff.
Which means your business makes even more money.
Because they have more money, so they can spend more money with other businesses. And this is a snowball kind of effect. I forget the Wikipedia described form of government that we have. It's like 3 things long or 3 or 4 words long. But it's good and it's very appropriate. And it's just, I think too often we're willing to succumb to these basic ideas of, we're pro-business or we're pro-people and it's like, we're not really any of that. We're all of that and none of that simultaneously.
Well, not to insult anybody's intelligence at all, but socialism can't be a bad word. Now, if you think it is, then you take away minimum wage.
Yes.
You take away,
we have socialism inside of what we're already doing.
Right. You take away farm, subsidies to farmers. You take away all of these kinds of things where the government steps in and redistributes the wealth. So, I mean, you can go to true capitalism if you want, but then you're going to give up a lot of things that many, many millions of people count on in their daily lives. So you can't just say socialism is a bad word, because there are lots and lots of government programs that benefit millions of Americans, and almost every American is benefiting through a government program these days. So understand, if you want to argue for true capitalism, then let's get to what that really is and what that will really look like.
See if you really like that.
And then see if you really, really want that. And if you do, we can have a nice talk.
Yep.
Okay. And again, all I've ever said, and you've heard me say this since you were in my class, is just tell me what the rules of the game are and I'll find a way to win.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way this person here in the microphone works, is I don't care what the rules are. You tell me what the rules are, then I'll figure out a way to play it better than most people. So if you want to go to true capitalism, that's fine. I'll play the game that way.
So the way the Wikipedia article describes it, our producer was so kind as to find it specifically for me, is the United States is a federal republic. So notice nothing about democracy, nothing about capitalism, none of that. It goes on to say it is federal in that it has a single national government as well as a collection of states and territories, each with its own government and empowered to enact local laws. It is a republic in that its voters elect representatives and officials to act on their behalf. So there's been a lot of different ways to describe our form of government, but I've always felt this is a very appropriate way to outline it, because, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. That is the way the government itself works. Economically, again, it's a hybrid capital economy, because it's not true capitalism. Otherwise, like Lance said, there would be no minimum wage. And there would be, no social security, and these other things wouldn't exist. And if workers wanted those things, then they themselves would organize and demand it from the companies. But the government would never step in. They just say, what happens. You want to strike? That's fine. You can do that. And if the employer wants to fire you for striking, they can do that too.
Yep.
And if they go bankrupt, then and they leave it alone. But we don't do that. We leave it alone until we think that it's in the best interest of the majority to step in and not leave it alone. So just understand that when we talk about these kinds of things, and really think about, like Lance said, is that what you want? Because it's not being facetious. It's just, if that's what you want, then it's a different conversation. Life's going to look different than it does today. And if you want to stand up to big companies in a real capitalist economy, you're going to have to be willing to not just hold up a sign, but go hungry while you hold up that sign. Cause that's what it takes. So, and we can do that. Like Lance said, we're not saying we're opposed to it.
Well, it was done in our past.
That's right. That's where we came from. That's how we got to here. That's part of what the book's so great is it shows why we made decisions along the way to not do it that way anymore, and how we go too far one way and then we come back. And that's how this trial and error process, the American experiment, as many call it, which I think is an appropriate word. That's what we do. We try and fail and try again and revise a little bit each time around.
And in the history of mankind and history of the world, we have not been around that long.
That's right. We got a long ways to go.
We are in an experimental stage.
So let us know your thoughts at TrueChat.org. Where are all the places that people can listen, Lance?
Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else fine podcasts are found.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. We really do appreciate it. We challenged all of you to get at least one new person listening this year, so please make sure to do that. For the State of Us on TrueChat in Urbana, I'm Justin T. Weller.
And I'm Lance Jackson.
We'll see you next time. Be the change.